Nvidia stock was down over 2% on Friday, and now that the week's about to start off, I want to take a closer look at some recent news that Nvidia stock investors should know. Now, more importantly, Micron is reporting earnings this week, which could definitely impact and affect Nvidia and other semiconductor stocks in general. Not only that, there's other semiconductor news that investors should know, and Microsoft's CEO was recently at a podcast, and investors need to know what he said. So if this is your first time here, make sure to hit the thumbs up, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as this is going to be the best place you're going to find any semiconductor and AI news for free. Also check out the pinned comment for a special offer at fool.com/Jose, and check out my daily semiconductor newsletter. The link is down below. All right, let's get started.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so as we can see, Nvidia was down roughly 2% on the day. I did an episode yesterday, I believe, where I mentioned most of this negativity, in my opinion, is Broadcom's earnings, as the market might perceive Broadcom, which the stock was up over 20% after reporting earnings, is eating Nvidia's lunch. Too long, don't watch. I don't think that's the case, but I think the market is going to continue to perceive that in the short term of things. Now, what I believe is going to be very important this week is Micron Technology. So Micron, ticker MU, the stock is up about 4% on Friday, is reporting earnings this upcoming week on Wednesday. And for those that are not familiar, Micron provides memory for all products that go all over the world, from TVs, PCs, mobile, data centers, and the list goes on and on. Now, right now, one of the products that's very supply constrained in the AI accelerator market is HBM, high bandwidth memory. So Micron is the number 2 player when it comes to HBM. They are supply constrained in this space. They're trying to increase and improve their overall capacity. So with Micron Technology reporting earnings, I am very curious to see how they see the AI space, how they see the PC space, how they see the mobile space, because overall that's going to be good news for the semiconductor semiconductor market if we're moving in a positive direction there. But I think for me, the biggest thing is going to be any updates to HBM. Are they still developing at rapid levels? Are they still expanding and spending CapEx to improve that capacity? Are they still seeing strong demand from big players here? I think the answer to all those are going to be yes, but I'm just looking for that confirmation. I actually believe if earnings are really good, and if they do talk highly of HBM and AI accelerators, Micron, in my opinion, will have a nice increase in the stock price. But obviously, it's all about guidance and all about expectations, and that can obviously be a reason why the stock might even go down after great earnings. There are reports that TSMC ramps up CoWoS capacity across Taiwan, projected to nearly triple by 2026. So this is very important because for those that are not familiar, this is the place where AI chips are supply constrained. TSMC can build as much chips as possible, but when it comes to this advanced packaging, this is where they get the bottleneck. And right now, by the end of 2024, it seems like it's about 35,000 wafers a monthly basis this year. And by 2025, it's expected to jump up to 70,000. And by 2026, it's expected to grow to 90,000. So overall, this is very bullish news for Nvidia. As we can see, if Nvidia continues to be supply constrained, there is a very easy way for this company to continue to grow its revenue at strong double digits, maybe even possible triple digits for certain years. Now, one thing though that I think as investors, especially if you are investing in Nvidia and other AI chips, you have to become very knowledgeable of kind of the supply chain. And most of this growth is going to be coming from a few plants of TSMC. This is going to be the TSMC's AP8 plant, which is expected to be operated by the end of 2025. And it's expected to support a monthly production capacity of roughly 40 to 50,000 wafers. Now, as a semiconductor investor, we need to make sure that this plant is coming online on time, because if not, that could create some form of headwinds for semiconductor stocks, especially AI chip companies like Nvidia. Now, the other thing is, if we do hear reports that this plan is actually ahead of schedule, it can be very, very bullish. So if possible, maybe somehow add this keyword to your search. And if you get any good news about this, it could definitely transfer to some great movements in the stock price. Now, it is important, right? With advanced packaging factories, not all of it is going to go to CoWoS production. They can also allocate capacity for other things like system on integrated chips, co-packaged optics, and fan-out panel level packaging as well. But overall, it does show the opportunity, and that as long as Nvidia has strong demand, this opens up the road for Nvidia to have a nice revenue growth in the upcoming years. Talking about Nvidia also mentioned that they are going to be presenting on CES 2025 on January 6th. Now, I get every single year, I've been covering Nvidia for such a long time. Every single year, I get filled with comments that, hey, look, Jose, CES is coming in 2025. This is going to be a catalyst for the stock. This is going to be a reason why the stock price goes up. Now, let me say, from the many years that I've covered Nvidia, especially CES, this is more of like nothing really happens. Everybody is expecting Nvidia to release their next generation consumer GPUs. And remember, here Nvidia is most likely only going to talk about consumer products, where most of the revenue comes from the data center market, right? So I personally wouldn't expect much of a move unless we get something new. And the only thing that I believe we've heard reports about is Nvidia is going to come out with the CPU during this consumer meeting. If they do come out with the CPU, I believe this can cause negative price action to companies like AMD and Intel, and it could create a nice bullish sentiment for companies like Nvidia. So, and ARM, because most likely if they are developing an own CPU, it's going to be an ARM-based CPU. So if Nvidia just comes out with a GPU, I think the market won't really move, even if it's some crazy 5090 and has some amazing power and set some crazy price. Now, if they release the CPU, I think there could be a nice reason for the stock to go up. Again, usually events like CES is more like sell the news type of things, or I'm not saying I'm going to sell stock, but I'm saying events like that aren't really going to be things that really move the stock price unless something new is announced. And everybody and their mother and grandmother and grandfather and father already knows that they're going to release the 5090 and maybe some of the other 5000 generation GPUs already. Now, the next thing I want to take a closer look at is Intel was recently at a conference event on Barclay. I will most likely be doing a video on this later this week, but Intel does mention that they are developing a data center GPU called Falcon Shores, which is expected to come out after the Gaudi, right? So it was Gaudi 2, Gaudi 3, and then they were going to go from an AI accelerator to a full GPU. And the first GPU was going to be Falcon Shores. Now, based on new management, they mentioned that, hey, look, there is going to be a nice growth from Gaudi to Falcon Shores, but right now, they mentioned it's not going to be wonderful. It's going to be a first step as they're developing their first data center, first generation Falcon Shores GPUs. So it just continues to showcase how behind Intel is, even in the GPU space. So I wouldn't be too worried about as an Nvidia shareholder here, but as an Intel shareholder, if you had the Falcon Shores for a bullish thesis, at least for the next few quarters, I would say that shouldn't be a thing because even management doesn't believe it's going to be a great product. Now, the final thing I have here for Nvidia is, for those that are not familiar, this very popular technology podcast called BG2, and I believe it's with a lot of like investors. I'm not too familiar with the hosts, but they are very knowledgeable people. I've listened to a lot of their podcasts already. They've had Jensen in a bit. They sometimes do just like talks between themselves. Today or a few days ago, they had Microsoft CEO. And one of the questions was asking, hey, are you chip supply constrained right now? And Microsoft CEO actually said that they weren't chip constrained, that they were power constrained. I want to say maybe the market might see that as a bearish thing, but I want to say there's probably some truth to that. I think right now Microsoft has already developed plenty of data centers. And now the only way it's not, so when you're chip constrained, it means that, hey, look, you have plenty of power, but you don't have the chips to use that power, right? So that's where a lot of these companies were a year ago, where they couldn't build the data centers they wanted to because they didn't have enough chips. Now I think they have kind of a nice data centers built up. They have all these AI chips in general, and they're trying to build more data centers. But to build those more data centers, they need more power before they purchase more AI chips. And this is something that has always been a case here with the AI market, where power is becoming a bottleneck. And that's why we are moving into things like nuclear power or discussions of that in the future. I wouldn't necessarily put this as a scared case for Nvidia, because during the interview, Microsoft CEO also said that one thing that Nvidia CEO has done correctly is he tells his biggest customers that, hey, look, don't buy all the chips from us at once. Buy them over time. 1 year, we're going to drop Blackwell. So you buy Blackwell, you buy some Blackwell. Then the next year, we're going to release Blackwell Ultra. Then you buy Blackwell Ultra. Then after that, we're going to sell Rubin and then Rubin Ultra. So Nvidia has worked with these big tech players, in my opinion, in a really great way. So there's not kind of an overlap or too much inventory in one certain customer. And I believe Nvidia has done that well. But there might be ways that the market might perceive this as negative, and maybe we might see some negative price action on Nvidia. I want to say nothing right now is scaring me with as an Nvidia investor, but the market definitely reacts to news like this on a short-term basis with high volatility. So those are my overall thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.